Welcome back to the Morgan Streetman Show. Now, it seems to me today we have somewhat of a theme, and that is a lot of antagonistic behavior, a lot of back and forth, not between us, not between you or me or Pat, but between Democrats and Republicans and people on trial.
Is that a subtle way for you telling me to knock it off?
No.
Do you think?
And it continues.
You think all of this will go away if Trump loses, just like a flip of a switch?
You know, it's funny you should mention that. Somebody, I got a little text group I'm part of, and somebody in that group said, you know, the silver lining is that all this stops as soon as it's no longer a Republican administration. And, I mean, I'm not sure if that's a silver lining, really, to be honest with you, because, I mean, why should one side get to dictate that nothing can proceed forward when the other side, which won fair and square, actually tries to govern? I mean, I don't. So they're gonna bog everything down and riots and fighting with each other, and nothing can happen. I mean, and that's. I mean, think about all the phony investigations that they brought against President Trump, which have been shown to be phony. Mm-hmm. I mean, all this stuff. I mean, it's just. I guess all's fair in love and war. But the way that the Democrats and the people that are in that side of the political coalition, the way that they operate and the tactics that they're willing to use, I think are disheartening. It's disheartening because there's a lack of a civil discourse. They don't want to argue points. They don't want to say, listen, I hear what you're saying, but here's why we think we're right. They don't want to do that. They say, if you try to say what you're saying, we're going to try to kill you or burn down your building or destroy you. That's the answer.
All the lives that are lost. Who's to blame for that?
Been a lot of lives lost in all these riots and protests. And, you know, it's a good question, Pat George. Who is to blame for that? And there's so much. I mean, our discourse has taken a step so far down. You know, we were just arguing with each other. It was almost screaming at each other instead of trying to communicate, trying to learn and grow.
I blame social media. Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Because people think that they're actually accomplishing something by sharing their opinion and by, you know, being antagonistic towards people. And then that's how people start to have discourse in regular life. And that doesn't accomplish anything.
Yeah, yeah. And we're hearing that more and more. It's bleeding over into all parts of our life. You know, next thing we wanted to share with you is a clip of a Georgia state representative, a black man, Vernon Jones. Now, he's a former representative, but he's now supporting President Trump. And boy, has that been big news, because he was a Democrat, right? A black Democrat who's now supporting President Trump. And they just go after him. Now, here he is on MSNBC with the host, Craig Melvin.
Are you a paid campaign surrogate? Are you being compensated by
Let me be clear. You get paid to shape a liberal narrative. You get paid to attack this president. I don't get a dime for this president. I don't get a dime from the campaign. Everything I've done has been me and based on my principles. And see, that's the problem. When an African American that's elected official,
I did not raise your
Let me finish now. Let me finish.
Whoa. You're not going to imply that I asked that question because you're black.
So don't ask me that. You only ask me that because I don't fit your narrative. This president never offered anything. I don't want anything from this president. It's what I can do for my country. And you need to accept that many other African Americans and others support this president because of his policies. And to insult me to say, am I getting paid?
I've asked the same question. I have asked the same question of Democrats who come on.
MSNBC and their narrative to keep blacks silent who happen to support this president. Why can't I be like white liberals or other whites? Nobody questioned they're getting paid. So I have to get paid. Do you ask Democrats? Do they get paid?
I just said if you
paid by Joe Biden.
I just said to you.
Have you ever asked any host on your show that they've been paid by Joe Biden?
State Representative Vernon Jones. Representative Jones, thank you.
Representative Jones, thank you. After I just tried to talk over you and didn't want to let you make your points. Have you ever listened to interviews from like 30 years ago, 40 years ago? They're so interesting because the person asks a question and then they shut up and they let the interviewee answer the question. It's unbelievable what you can learn from somebody when you listen to them.
I must be a throwback because that's what I do. That's how I conduct interviews.
You're old school, Roxanne. You think an interview's about asking a question and then listening to the answer? That's a quaint notion. Well, anyway, it's really sad. I mean, we have turned into idiocracy. we've turned into idiocracy. People aren't thinking big thoughts. They're not communicating big thoughts. They're not really thinking in depth. Everybody's just reacting, and they're reacting in sort of a pre-programmed way. And, they're just amplifying their existing belief structures. So they don't want to try again and learn and grow. And it doesn't mean you're going to change your mind. It's good to hear from the other side. It's good to get the perspective of people who disagree with you, because
Absolutely.
that can inform what you believe. It can cause you to modify slightly, or maybe just to strengthen, or to think through the arguments of the other side so that you can be better prepared to defend what you believe. I don't understand why we've totally lost that in this country. Thank you for listening to the Morgan Streetman Show. We hope you enjoyed what you heard, and if you did, please click like and subscribe to help us out. And remember that we recommend that you exercise your brain at least once a week.